Reese Wilkerson is the most violent, most chaotic, and most misunderstood character in Malcolm in the Middle. On the surface, he's just the dumb bully. The one who beats people up for fun, destroys everything he touches, and has never once stopped to think about the consequences. But the more you pay attention, the more complicated the picture gets. Because Reese is also the kid who names his butterflies, has a secret wishing hole in a tree on Jefferson Street, and once spent 3 months engineering a plan to get closer to Cynthia. This video is about what's actually going on inside Reese Wilkerson. He didn't wait until childhood to start causing problems. Before he was even born, he kicked Lois so hard during labor that she delivered him early.
Ow! Another contraction? No, he's kicking me in between contractions. What the hell is with this kid?
And the first thing he did when he came out was...
Here he comes. Ow!
Not a detail the show throws in once and forgets. Reese isn't a product of his environment. He didn't get shaped by bad influences or a chaotic household. He came out of the womb like this.
God, he kicked me in the nose.
At school, Reese runs the place through fear, but there's a side effect nobody talks about. His position at the top kept dozens of other kids from trying to fill that role. Remove Reese and you don't get peace, you get chaos.
Reese! You've gotta help us!
What?
Your absence as a bully has created a power vacuum!
The whole social order of that school depended on him being exactly who he was. He goes after the Krellboynes, his brothers, anyone within range. The one person he never touches is Stevie. Wheelchair means off limits. When Malcolm gets moved into the gifted class and other kids start calling him a freak, Reese steps in.
At least twice a day, I have to whoop ass on some kid calling you a weirdo. Honestly, it's exhausting.
And when Malcolm tries to thank him, Reese doesn't know what to do with that.
Thanks.
For what?
Nothing.
Because for him, there was no decision. He wasn't choosing to protect his brother. He was just being Reese. Then there's the USS Constitution. Reese walks in while Dewey is explaining his model ship, listens briefly.
Typhoon!
I can't believe you did that!
Dewey's response is to act like Reese has ceased to exist entirely.
And Reese completely disappeared.
Yeah, very funny.
Huh. The smell is gone too.
And somehow this, of all things, is what gets through. Reese buys him a game just to get a reaction.
Oh, wow! That's so cool!
Whether that's guilt or just missing his target, it's hard to say. Maybe both.
Mom, I just found the exact game I wanted for my birthday, just lying on this chair.
In one episode, Malcolm is secretly filming Reese for a school psychology project. And when Reese relaxes enough to actually talk, what comes out is genuinely strange.
You like clouds? Yeah, I like clouds. I call them sky kittens.
He has a tree stump on Jefferson Street that he uses as a wishing well, a place he goes to whisper things he'd never say out loud.
It never calls you stupid or perv. My hole always keeps my wishes safe.
This is the same person who once got a barbell stuck on his throat.
Help me!
The same person who set up a scheme where kids from school could pay $20 each to punch him.
So far, 23 kids have signed up. We've taken in $460.
Except Reese wasn't the one taking the hits. He'd hired a dude named Chad to do that for him. Dewey locked everyone else out of the garage and started beating on who he thought was Reese.
How could you hit me like that? You're my brother! And my partner!
Reese gets a wedgie trying to chase him. Then the garage door opens and the whole crowd gets another turn. And when Lois finds out that Dewey has convinced Reese he's in a shipping crate headed for China, she decides he can stay in there a little longer.
Still making noises?
And he's got food and water? Yeah. All right.
Here's the thing about Reese that the show keeps coming back to. He's not actually stupid. He just operates in a completely different dimension. He ran a 3-month campaign to get closer to Cynthia.
She catches me crying, makeout session, she discovers a love letter in my back pocket, heavier makeout session.
Patient, calculated, almost successful.
Oh! How can you be so creepy?
He studied his senior finals so carefully that he could get every single answer wrong, on purpose.
Yeah, math. I kept getting confused, so I'm making a list of all the numbers. 3,000...
Just to guarantee he'd have to repeat the year and stay home 12 more months.
Now I don't have to move out, or go to college, or get a job for a whole nother year.
He led police on a chase through the city in a driver's ed car.
What are you doing? Aren't you pulling over?
I don't know.
Then ended it with a perfect parallel park into a space that barely existed.
The kids at school ask you about this? Tell them I got under your bra.
Got out, got arrested, came out with his license. And the cooking. Hal signs them up for a class expecting nothing. One session in, the instructor can't take his eyes off Reese.
And you say you've never cooked anything before.
Intentionally? No.
Remarkable.
The class gives him a standing ovation. Then he goes ahead and ruins every other contestant's dish.
I did not put all of the salt in there.
Not out of fear, but because he thought it would be more fun than just winning. When Hal tries to walk him through what empathy is, Reese's question is genuine.
Then why would you want empathy?
He's not being difficult. He actually wants to know.
He has no more sense of right and wrong than a tree frog.
And in one episode, after watching his brothers both get recognized for their particular kinds of intelligence, Reese goes quiet. Then he tells Dewey he's worked it out.
There it was, just staring me in the face.
When Beth cheats on him with Malcolm, Reese doesn't break down. He enlists under a fake name, lies about his age, and disappears without a word to anyone.
All right, Private Jetson. Get back in line!
Basic training turns out to be a perfect fit. The whole system, don't think, don't question, just execute, is how Reese has always worked.
Alpha, flick right!
You are really showing leadership, soldier!
His commanding officer tells his colleagues that this kid has single-handedly restored his faith in the future of the Army.
You want a glass of water?
I don't know, ask the sergeant.
Stop saying that!
He ends up in Afghanistan. He ends up accidentally married to a local man. When Lois tracks him down and physically removes him from the country,
What in the name of God were you thinking? Look at you! You are filthy!
the military steps aside because the paperwork confirms he was underage the entire time. One season, Reese gets a job that involves releasing caterpillars across the neighborhood. He takes them home instead.
Oh, a tough guy, huh? Hey, cut it out, that tickles.
He studies them. He learns their names.
Did you know that the Latin name for this little guy is Danius Plexippus?
He gets into a fight with Hal over keeping them when Lois wants them gone. When they finally emerge as butterflies, he greets them one by one.
Julio! I knew you'd be one of the first. You're always the head of the class.
At 18, Ida organizes a competition, the prize being marriage to her maid Raduca, who needs to stay in the country.
Within a sack of fellowship. Once inside the sack, you will face a choice. Work together or to fight each other.
Reese wins. And unlike almost everything else in his life, he takes it seriously.
I'll do everything I can to make you happy.
He genuinely tries to make it work. It ends when he and Lois walk in on Raduca with someone else.
Is, Bella, and I have known him for many years because, he is my brother.
Reese had also written on the immigration paperwork that his wife had a tail, so the odds were never great. Then comes the prom. A girl named Jeannie hires him for $200.
Just smile and don't be yourself. Hi, Jeannie.
One evening, act like a gentleman. Reese shows up ready. He's warm, thoughtful, genuinely present.
You can go ahead and grab my butt. You're paying for it.
At the end of the night, she asks him to the beach.
Oh, wow. It's 12 o'clock already? Too bad, I was having fun.
He says he was just doing his job. But earlier that night, he told her she'd helped him find a part of himself he didn't know was there. After graduation, Reese moves in with Craig and takes a job as assistant janitor at his old high school. He gets promoted to head janitor after his predecessor is fired for peepholes in the girls' bathroom that Reese installed. 3 months later, Craig is doing better than he ever has. Reese paid attention to what he wanted for his birthday. He showed up and baked him a cake.
You listen to me, you really do!
That's how Reese's story ends. Not a disaster, not a triumph, just someone who figured out slowly and in his own way how to be there for another person. The show never landed on what kind of genius Reese was, but over 7 seasons, it gave us something just as interesting. Someone running entirely on instinct with almost no distance between impulse and action, who somehow ends up in the right place when it actually matters. Not because he reasoned his way there, just because some part of him always knew. And if you want to understand where a lot of that comes from, check out my Ida video next, The Woman Who Shaped Lois, which explains a lot.